To today's session. This is Connixt's Customer Roundtable series, and we are joined by Mid-South Transport's team. I'd like to just do a quick introduction and some housekeeping first. So my name is Nicole Sterling, and I will be your facilitator for today. So if you've got any questions, please feel free to ping those through to me, and I will pass them along to our guest speakers for today. We will have a Q&A time dedicated at the end of the session, but you're welcome to just pop those questions in throughout as we go. Today's webinar is being recorded, and we will send attendees a link to that recording over the next couple of days once we've done a quick quality assurance check. So just keep an eye on your inbox for that one. Today's webinar, I will let you know, is being hosted by Connixt. A little bit about us. Connixt is the easiest way to digitize and automate your paperwork, process, reporting, and compliance. And I will let the team go into a little more detail about who and what we are and the specifics later on. But then I'd also like to introduce you to our guest speaker for today. We are joined, and we're super excited to be joined by the team from Mid-South Transport, who are going to share how they digitized maintenance and boosted efficiency by 20%. So a little bit about Mid-South Transport, in case you didn't know. The business was established in Memphis, Tennessee in 1982. Their fleet consists of over 100 power units that travel throughout the Mid-South, Southeast, Northeast, Midwest, and California. And then our guest speakers for today, we have on the line Kent Long, who's the Chief Operating Officer, Lindsey Wright, who looks after IT as the IT Director, and Cody Albright, who's a Maintenance Supervisor over at Mid-South Transport. But before we commence, I'm actually going to hand over to Prabhu. He is founder and CTO at Connixt, and is going to share a quick overview of the implementation. So let me stop sharing so you can share screen.
Thanks. So let me quickly go there. Bear with me. Can you see my screen, Nicole? Okay, awesome.
We can. If you want to just do full view, would be amazing.
Yes, I will do that. So the overall implementation timeline was 4 weeks. In week 1, we did a quick discovery. We went over the forms that needs to be configured along with processes that needs to be implemented. And in week 2, we went ahead and started the configuration. In parallel, we set up the users, roles, and the transactions associated with those users. And in week 3, we released the app for testing. Initially, we did a quick testing with the IT itself, and then we brought in the business users and then did a UAT. In parallel, we also did the training, a quick training session, and we also recorded training videos and then shared it to the user. By end of week 4, we went live. After we went live, there were some subsequent changes that got implemented related to telematics integration, which we will cover a little later. When it comes to the Connixt as a solution itself, we are a cloud mobile solution where we are hosted out of Microsoft Azure Cloud, where all our objects resides. And when it comes to field crews, they use our mobile app. We support both iOS and Android, smartphones and tablets. And our apps are native apps. In fact, when the users are using, they use speech to text, images on annotation, which helps them to enrich the data. Now, when it comes to the backend portion of it, right, we connect with a lot of CMMS systems and EAM systems out there, out of the box. But in case of MST, they use our website to go over failed items, the transactions, PDF reports, and things like that. Now, when it comes to the exact process flow itself that got implemented at MST, we are doing ABC service inspections, like using our mobile app. The crew can go ahead and create a inspection transaction using our mobile app. We also allow them to create repair orders for their maintenance task that they are doing. All this information is stored in our cloud, and the back office folks, managers, Cody, can go ahead and access the data from our web and then follow up on failed items. Also, they can create PDF reports in their own format, in DOT format, where the PDFs can be printed out and then they can put on the truck trailer so that it can be used for auditing purposes. The next process that we implemented was integration with telematics. this was an awesome process that we implemented. And in fact, thanks to MST team, they helped us a lot through the process where we collect the asset data from GoMotive. Of course, we have a framework where we can talk to other ELD devices, ELD device platforms. Out of the box, we talk to Samsara, Geotab, and GoMotive. So we collect the data from GoMotive. In fact, in phase 1, we are collecting the mileage data. And then once we get the mileage, every 20K, we go ahead and auto create PM work orders for MST. When we say auto create PM work orders, we take the last mileage when the inspection was done and what type of inspection was done, whether it is A, B, or C, and then create the subsequent PM work order. Like if they have done, a B service at 22K, the next 42K when it hits, we will do a C service PM work order. So we dynamically calculated those mileages and then auto create work orders, which shows up in the work queue for the users, for the mechanics. They do the subsequent service, and then that gets stored in the cloud. Of course, when there are failed items or when there are items that needs to be fixed, the maintenance crew follows up the failed items and then does the update. So this whole process, right, creation of PM work orders is automated for MST through ELD integration, so that a Cody and team doesn't need to keep track of mileage. We go ahead and keep track of mileage and go ahead and create the work orders for them. So overall, again, timeline wise, it was a 4 weeks implementation for the initial process. And then after, a couple of weeks, we spent time on cleaning up this telematics integration process, and then we went live. Now, that is a screen sample of our app itself. That's a creation screen where users can use barcode scanning. Users can select the values from a list of assets or list of master, and then they can upload pictures with annotation on top of it. And they can also enter additional comments for pass fail items where speech to text can be used. So we have automated this whole section. And also when it gets stored, like I mentioned earlier, we create PDF reports in MST's own format, which can be used for DOT purposes. Now that's a lookup of the GoMotive itself. We not only get mileage, we also get the current location of the truck and trailer. We also get additional informations other than the engine light and fuel usage. Now, when it comes to engine light, if there is a fault code, we also show the fault code description. And in future, we may land up creating repair work orders, which is not implemented yet, but we are planning to create a repair work order based on engine fault conditions. Maybe that will be phase 2. I hope that at least gave an idea of the implementation that we did for MST. Nicole?
Wonderful. That was amazing. So thank you very much for that walkthrough. We're going to move into the panel discussion part of today. So I have a whole lot of questions for our guest speakers. So Kent, Lindsey, Cody, welcome officially to the stage. No pressure. They're a little nervous. It's been a while, but we are very excited to have you here. So I will get kicked off into the questions. If I don't ask something, please, as our attendees, please pop it into the chat. I put a little message in there so you can find where that is very easily. But we would love to hear from you, and we can then pass those along to the team. So first question off the bat. This is a really innovative program that you've actually kicked off and super impressive, guys. So well done. What I'd love to understand is, what were your objectives for getting started with this particular initiative?
The main thing I was looking for when we started with this program, we need a little more organization. We, as most shops, everything's paper. You got carbon copies, you're doing your services, you got to keep your records. We needed something that kept us more organized and just streamline the process in the back. And we needed something that our shop guys could use, hands-on, and it actually didn't slow them down, but actually helped them in the process. So as we started going through and looking at different opportunities, this one, it had everything we needed plus more. And it also was very simple. We could start the guys off in the shop, just simple steps. And we'd start off with trailers, or then we started off with adding the trucks and services. And as we get more and more, it was just an ease into it, and it was really no bumps at all. You know, they grew at their own pace, which was actually surprised me. It's very quick how they all took to it. Cody, would you have?
That's about it. You know, just keeping up with what we have. You know, like Kent stated, as far as services and paper copies, it makes it a lot more organized, a lot easier to keep up with. The guys took on to it like they've been using it for years. Very simple. If we did have anything we needed help on, the guys at Connixt, they was quick, fast, and in a hurry to, you know, to get our questions answered, you know, to get us back where we need to be.
One thing that came along with it that we weren't expecting, but was great, is how it's all stored in the cloud. And we started doing the trailer services on there, trailer inspections. So we found that, you know, drivers have a tendency to lose those, or they come out of the box. And if they ever needed a copy of the inspection certificate when they're on the road, they got stopped in a scale house, we can just email it to them immediately and they got a copy of it. So that has been a great added bonus that we didn't even think about at the very beginning, but that has helped us a lot.
Awesome. Well, I think you kind of answered my next question a little bit, but I'll ask it anyway. So what made you choose Connixt? Why us?
It really was, it was just very a simple process. I mean, when we got to looking at it and we showed the guys when they were here, we showed them a copy of, you know, like just the basic inspection reports or whatever. And they're like, yep, we can do that. We can load that right in. And they showed us an example of what basically looked like our inspection report sheet on their screen with drop down boxes. And it was just simple. I mean, it made it a very easy decision for us. We're like, our guys know what that is, and they know what that look like, and they don't have to go learn a complete different, you know, what something looks like. So they knew exactly how to use it. It was just on a tablet instead of a piece of paper. It was great.
And so I guess that answers my next question too, of did you achieve your objectives?
Oh yeah, we achieved the objectives and then some. It all went so smooth. It was funny story when we were sitting there talking, when Satish and the guys were here and we were talking, when they were first rolling it out to us, they heard me talking about a problem I was having with our warehouse management system. And it had nothing to do with what we were talking about. And Satish leaned over to me later. He goes, you know, we could make one of those for you too. And I laughed and I said, let's just wait and see how this one goes, and we'll talk later. Fast forward, they rolled out yesterday. We went through the first test of the warehouse management system that they're building from ground up for us. So that's how well it went and smooth the whole maintenance system went. Where I'm letting them build a warehouse management system for us, and they're about complete with it. So this has been fantastic partnership.
Fabulous. And so I guess let's dive a little more into those results then. What results have you been seeing as a result of the, maybe less so about yesterday's implementation and more so what's been in the works for a little while now?
The results that we've seen is the ease of use, once again, for the mechanics. And I like how everything's stored. We can also run reports off of it. So when Cody and I are looking at issues, and I'll go, hey, Cody, you know, when we talked about the other day, bumpers, how many bumpers have we replaced in the last whatever? You know, we're looking at, do we want to put bumper guards on there? So how much have we spent? How much have we replaced on bumpers in the last however much? He can pull it up real quick and tell me, okay, we replaced 15 bumpers, you know, because we're killing every deer in the South, I believe. So, you know, as we have to replace these bumpers, we're like, okay, is it worth being able to, should we put bumper guards? So it gives me tools to make decisions with, not just on the maintenance side, but on when I get to the, okay, what kind of products I need to order, what maintenance do I need to do? So it's giving me some viable, you know, tools and numbers to put to some decisions I need to make.
And so what has the crew's feedback been on the solution? What do they think about it?
As far as you know, the work order system, the guys, they love it. For me, it helps out because I can get a better description, you know, of what was performed versus them writing it out, you know, a paragraph on a piece of paper, you know, on a work order form. It's greasy and whatnot. It may have oil on it. I can't have read the description. The talk to text, that is probably their favorite. You push a little button in the description, you spill it out of what you've done, and that's it. You know, it's ready to go. They tend to like it a lot. Like I said, not only does it help them, it helps me as well. And if I need to see repair order history, I'm not digging through, a bunch of files in a file cabinet. I can type in a unit number and it pulls it up immediately. And it shows every repair order we've done. If we have a repeat, say an issue on a trailer, I can go back and say, we've had 4 work orders for the same thing. Maybe we need to look at another component. It helps the whole maintenance department out extremely. Just being on the tablet as well.
Yeah, that's a good point there. That's something that helps us a lot. We keep newer model trucks. We run off Freightliners. So if we keep seeing a failure in a specific area, we can pull up a part and see, okay, how many alternators are failed or whatever. And we can go back to our dealer and say, okay, we're seeing issues here. Here's how many work orders we've had on these in the last, 6 weeks. So it's given us a lot of tools to use to go back with our other partners, Freightliner, and say, okay, what are y'all seeing here? So.
Fantastic. So we've touched on a little bit. Let's talk about data accuracy for a moment, because that's one of the key aspects. Can you give me a couple of examples of the data accuracy that you're seeing at the moment?
One of the big things that was a go for me is we do a service every 20,000 miles on the truck. The drivers are not the best as bringing in when the service is due, and being it automatically generates a repair order when the service is due. That was a big thing for me. Making sure the equipment is serviced on time. Inspections are done, DOTs. When you go into the app and you open it up, it'll show you, hey, this truck here is due for an oil change or a DOT inspection. It automatically generates the repair order. That was a big thing for me. That helps out very well.
Yeah.
Brilliant. So obviously this is a pretty big project and an important one. What do you see as some of the key factors for success in getting this up and running? What made it work so well?
As far as on my end, Lindsey, she handled a lot of the IT department. We would have meetings, of, hey, this is how this would operate. We can set this up. As far as adding trucks or adding trailers, the team they're great. I actually had some trucks removed that we no longer have and get some new trucks added in. Everything's just working smooth. And communication, that's a big thing on my end, because when I need something, I only need it kind of fast. They tend to get right on it. It helps me out a lot as well as everybody else, because then I may be hounding Kent, or Kent's hounding me, or which not. But the team helped out very well, for support.
Brilliant. And then another little question here. So you are obviously live with this solution. We talked about warehousing going live yesterday, but what's next? And feel free to delve into warehousing if you like.
Well, I'm looking forward to the warehousing. We did phase 1 test, which was great. We have 2 warehouses that's got different components to it. So we're starting one out on the simpler one, but just, I'm looking at is that if it's as easy steps or even anywhere close to the easy steps as the maintenance was, it's going to be great. When you have a group of mechanics, and I'll walk to the back, that all love the new product, nobody complains about the change. I think that right there spoke a lot about it. I walked back there the second or third day when they were implementing. They all had the iPads out on them. They're just like, this is fantastic. Why hadn't we done this a long time ago? And that's the guys out there working it. They love it because it's very clear. It shows them what they need to do, and they got their job assignment. And there's so many features on it that we haven't used. You can, we haven't, put where we keep people's time up. You can track time on the jobs. You can track time for the, we don't pay our guys like that, so we haven't used that. But there's all kinds of great features in it. If we wanted to implement, we could. And that's kind of what we're seeing with the warehouse when there's going to be it's going to be our needs that we ask for. And then there's, hey, by the way, while we were building it, we went in and put this in there. You may need it down the road. So that's what's really cool about it. There's some things that Cody and I were looking at the other day. I want to get maybe something with our inventory. So get some inventory parts involved and start looking at that. along with the maintenance piece. So that would be the next big step, I would say for me, would be inventory going into the system as well.
Right. Well, let's talk a little bit about IT in that case. So tell me a little bit about some of the back-end systems that are connected here.
Go ahead.
We use Motive for our trucks, GPS and logging system, and then we have Trimble's TMS system, AS400. And they work very well together. It pulls information out of AS400 into Motive, and then our system here can pull information out of Motive and put it into any kind of form that we've asked for.
Right. And then how critical was your telematics integration to this process?
Oh, very much so. We had to have all of that information come straight out of Motive and out of AS400.
Yeah, that's one of those things. If we didn't have that, I don't think it would be successful. You gotta, I mean, because it feeds straight through. I think Purdue did a good job of explaining it earlier. I mean, they're seeing it on their tablets exactly what's coming off the ECM of the truck. It's got their mileage, it's got VIN numbers, it's got location, it's all that will they need. So when it pops up that, hey, a service is due, guys can look down and say, okay, they're 20 miles out headed in this way, or that truck's on the yard, and they know they can go get it and handle the service. Or we know to let dispatch know, hey, the guy's on his way in, send him back here for service. Or he's gone to California, we can just put it on hold, we'll catch him when he comes back in. Let them know not to let that truck go back out until it's done. So that kind of is so important versus the old school way of, stickers and windows of mileages and guys missing it. So the telematics, being able to tie into that is what makes what you were asking earlier, the details and the specifics of it work. Without that, you don't get, I don't think, your true bang for your buck. So with that in there, it really adds to how technical and how accurate it is, really the accuracy of everything.
Right. So let's talk time for a little moment. How much of IT's time did this project consume?
Very little. It was incredible. They had right from the start an idea of what we needed. I sent them the forms that we use. He put it all together in a matter of a few hours, I believe. I don't even think it took a full day for him to come back and say, look, we've done it. It was incredible. Everything moved so fast, and it, I think, overall took 2 months to get up and going and live.
Yeah. And we're talking, that's from originally talking to the sales at the front end of it.
Right.
It's going to be my next question then. So how long did it take? And I guess if you can break it down into stages, what did that look like?
Yeah, I think from when we actually said go and started signing contracts, it was maybe 3 or 4 weeks from when we said, okay, let's build, to when we were actually out there, playing with it with, shop guys and entering stuff. And a lot of it was just, okay, us getting what forms we needed and getting them the correct information of, okay, here's what we want it to look like. It kind of went so fast. We're like, oh, wait a minute, I got to think this one through. What do we want it to look like? How, this is what it is now. Well, how do we want it to look on the other end? We can make some improvements, but it was moving pretty quick. The biggest thing we did with IT, we would just have meetings and just kind of give them some direction. Even on the back end with when they talk to Motive, they're like, oh, we got a relationship with them. We're like, oh, that's great. And all we did was just give them permission to talk and give them our information. And that was really it on the back end with the telematics.
Yes. And I guess also from an IT standpoint, then, what did you think of the implementation and integration process? How did you find it?
Very simple. It was very easy. It was all set up, ready to go. All we had to do was answer a few questions here and there. And yes or no, we like this. If we had an idea, it was, we sent an email or gave them a call, and it was answered as quickly as we sent it.
Yeah, compared to other implementations we've done recently. We changed imaging systems and a few others, and all I heard is, why couldn't this be as easy as the Connixt? I was like, so that was a miserable one, but yeah, it really was simple. I mean, we didn't have to do it.
Yes, I think that's fantastic feedback for us. So you've got a current backend system that's a little bit of an older system. Does this implementation add value to that system?
Yeah, there's, because of the way the AS400 is designed, and TMW, for people that are online know, I mean, it's old, it's, you know, it doesn't break, you know, it just does its own thing, but you don't have many things that you can quote bolt onto it as far as other programs. Because of the way we use Motive and the Keep Trucking, it allowed us to use a system that we probably could not have tied into the AS400, not real simple. So that was kind of really neat here, because it's not easy, like we've learned doing imaging systems, it's not easy attaching anything to the AS400. And this was very simple by way of, you know, the telematics and the piece that got that information kind of flowed right through to it. It was nice.
Great. And obviously now you are live, so you've potentially been speaking with support as well. So just curious as to what your experience has been like with the support team.
Anytime if I have a question, most of the time we're on the run back there in the shop, I'll shoot an email over. Normally within minutes, I have a phone call if I haven't responded. You know, say, hey man, everything's up going. This is what you needed. Like I mentioned earlier, the trucks that we had traded in, they no longer need to be in our system, but we have new units that have arrived and need them, you know, put in the system, as far as the work orders and everything of that nature. And I'd send an email over, and it was within minutes. I had got an email back saying, hey, these are removed and these are added. It takes a lot of stress off of me. You know, I don't have to worry about trying to figure out how to add or remove. It's, you know, send them an email and they get it taken care of.
Yeah, and even at the very beginning, when they were rolling it out, we would just make little tweaks and go, can you change this, or can you move this, or add this box? And those were simple changes that they were simple for Connixt, but it was huge for us. Just move something to a different area it was great. So that all those were very simple and very needed on our part. I know simple for them, but it was great to be able to just ask and they were done.
Yes. So I've got another question here for you, and then we'll open it up to our audience for some Q&A time. So if you've got questions, please pop them in the chat. I have had a couple come through. So my final question for the moment. So there was a reference earlier on to enriching data that goes into the backend system. Can you talk to that a little bit, please?
Are you talking about the data that goes back into, well, I would say the accuracy that comes in, because we're using the ECMs, and then we're able to keep when you start out accurate, you can end up accurate. When that was kind of our problem, we weren't ever starting out accurate on the front end. So when it comes in and you know exactly when your services were done, you know exactly when they're due. So it's, you know, though it goes back to the old garbage in, garbage out. Well, when you're starting out with good data, it's easy to maintain the good data, and it kind of continues to flow that way. So I think that was the big thing. It wasn't really the back end. It was, we were getting it actually right on the front end, which continued to, you know, give us accurate data throughout the process. Now we don't have to go back and try to clean up and go back and look at old service reports, whether it's trucks or trailers. Once we entered it in correctly, it's like you stay correct going forward.
You know, like Ken has stated, as far as the data that comes in, you know, if you was to write down the incorrect mileage or anything of that nature, you know, on a paper log, the mileage, you know, may be off come next service. Once you pull that unit up in the system, it automatically generates everything for you. You're not having to manually put in mileage, truck number, make, model, VIN number, all that automatically generates. And then that's another big thing, is that we know the mileage is correct. So therefore, it goes back to Kent. You know, you come in accurate, you leave accurate. So that's a big thing there.
And it makes all of our formal inspection reports and everything that we have to do for DOT and all that, they're accurate now. You know, you don't have anything that's off.
And the record keeping is great. Over the years, we have to keep for so many years and so many things, and it's all right there, all in one place. You can't lose it. It doesn't disappear. It's all in one spot.
Yeah, so if you get audited, you can just go pull truck trailer and just print out everything that's done with it and everything that all the services have been done. All the inspections have been done correctly and on time.
Awesome. All right. Thank you for answering my million questions. We've got a little bit of time now for Q&A and questions from our guests. So please pop those into the chat if you haven't already. I will kick us off here. I've got one from George. So you're a mid to large sized company. Do you see this as applicable to smaller organizations as well? We're a little bit tinier than you.
Probably will help you more because, you know, if you don't have a big system or you don't have anything that's keeping up with your information, this is something that'll get you organized real quick. And it's not real expensive to do. It'll get you organized, keep you organized, especially with your filing and your logs. And like Lindsey just said, everything's there. If you ever do get audited or you ever do get, you know, inspections done, you can pull your reports. It's a click of a button, you know, whether it's trucks or trailers. I think it will probably, you know, you're like us. I don't have the budget for a full-time, you know, person just to do that. But now you don't need it because I can go in and any reports we need or any tons of files you need for an inspection, you can just go pull them up immediately.
Right. And then Drew has a question here. So it's more around your end users, because obviously this is a bit of a change for them moving from paper to digital. So just wondering, how did the end users take to the product?
It was great. So the form that we originally used, as far as the DOT form and our service inspection forms, they had took a paper form out of that and then they had put it into the app. So the form is exactly the same as we was using before. You know, the parts description, part number, quantity of part, everything's the same. It's just on, you know, electronic version of that. It worked out very well. You know, it's been paper for years. It's never had an electronic system as far as in the shop. Everybody picked up on it. And it helps out great. You know, misplaced work orders, anything of that nature, that's gone. That's in the past. It's stored in the cloud. If you need to see history, you know, you can put your unit number in and it's there. And then one thing to help the guys is it is the same form that we used before. So nothing has changed on the form. Everything is exactly the same.
Great. Drew's added a follow-up question there. So assuming that there's some training or transition process involved, can you talk to that at all?
It took us no time. I mean, I'm telling you, because we put it on pads like little iPads or Samsung pads. And I mean, it was simple. I mean, we're talking within a few minutes. I mean, it was pretty much like watching a kids play on a new app. I mean, they just had it figured out pretty quick.
The biggest thing for me in the shop with that was everybody remembering to write their passwords down to log in so they didn't forget it. Once you logged in, it's, you know, it's the same form that they're used to. So it's, you know, you type your unit number in, it automatically generates everything for you. And you do your inspection through there.
Yes. And now another question here separately, going back to the audits. So you did talk about the audits. Can you talk a little bit more about how this platform helps if you are audited?
Oh, all your everything's filed. It's in the cloud. So like Cody was just saying, whether they come in and you need to look at, you know, you pull, they say, okay, pull it on so many trailers or this trailer or a truck. You can just go in and type in the trailer number, the truck number. It's going to pull up everything, every service, every work order that's been done to that unit, print it off. Even better yet, if they're somewhere on the side of the road at a DOT inspection and you need to send it to them, you can email it straight to them. So it's all right there in touch and you got it. I mean, it's simple. You're not looking for paperwork, not greasy, not oily. And we like the fact that you can email it out if a guy loses his inspection. It's like for his trailer and he's sitting somewhere in another state, we can just email it to him.
Yes, so I hope that helps answer that particular question. I've got one more here, and assuming there's no more after that, we'll probably just wrap up. But so last chance to get your questions in. So one last one here. Any recommendations to other trucking companies who wish to undertake a project like this? where should they start? What should they do? What would you recommend?
I'd recommend, let the guys come over and see you. I know Sadesh and some of them came over and sat down with us just to see, because it's really customized. See what you need, because your needs are going to be different than our needs. What kind of equipment you run or what kind of maintenance you do in-house or not. But once they sat down, we just said, here's what we need. And we showed them, they go, okay, we can do that. And we can help in other ways, we think. And they showed us some other cool stuff. But I think the first part to get started is just let them see what you need. It could be something very simple or it could be very complex, but I think they need to see that to start, because that's the great part about it. It's not just one platform that fits all. That they set it up. They took ours and said, okay, here's the forms, here's what we need to do. And they built it around that.
Fabulous. Well, it looks like we have no further questions here at the moment. Just double checking. Yep. So that seems to be it. I want to say a huge thank you, Kent, Lindsey, Cody. Today has been fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing so openly with us. And thank you for our guests for coming along and asking some really great questions. If you come up with a question when we end the session today, please pop it through to the team, because they'll definitely pass it along and come back to you as well with a little bit more information. So thank you so much. The project was super impressive. Really appreciate the three of you hopping on despite a few nerves. You did an awesome job and we really appreciate it. I just want to say a little reminder, we have recorded the session today, so we will get that out to everyone after a quick quality assurance check. It should be out in the next couple of days. And I just want to say thank you very much for joining us, and have an awesome rest of your day, everyone.
Thank you.